first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. Thank you for joining us to prove we are live. There is a live shot of the Columbia River right now from our Maryhill camera, and I got to say, it looks pretty nice out there. So if you're watching this and it's not 70 degrees outside right now, you're watching in the future, just go back to that moment right there. Hello. Again, we are Fox 12 Now, and we are live here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. Pacific. We cover a wide range of topics on this show. We live stream on Facebook, YouTube, our website, and our apps, so lots of places to find our content and watch it afterward. One thing we have been covering here has to do with the rising rates for utilities, particularly when it comes to power. We've been exploring that here on the show and trying to educate and understand exactly how those rate increases are decided upon, who makes the decisions. Earlier this week, we had our interview with the Oregon Public Utility Commission and talked to them as far as their role in approving or disallowing rate increases from private utilities. One of the organizations we didn't talk to and that we're going to do right now is the Oregon Citizens Utility Board, and they are actually advocates for residents and more. And we're going to discuss what the organization does, their standpoints on the proposed increase from PGE of an additional 7.4% for 2025, and everything else associated with that. Joining us right now, we have Bob Jenks, the Executive Director. And Bob, thank you very much for joining us and helping us, really explain how these systems work and what's at play when it comes to decisions on utility rates and how all that happens. And I think to start off, Bob, if you wouldn't mind just giving us an overall viewpoint or view and understanding of the Oregon Citizens Utility Board.
Yeah, thank you. We're an independent nonprofit that advocates on behalf of utility customers, residential customers of utilities, electric, gas, primarily, before the state regulators and then also before the legislature. So when PG files a rate case, we will dig into it, see what substance there. We'll do our own analysis of their costs and submit that to the commission. And we're a nonprofit. We're supported really primarily by customers out there and try to do the best we can to advocate for the interests of residential customers.
And talking about that being, just to understand the nonprofit side too, so funded largely by customers, do you mean people opt in, or is this something like what I guess do you mean by customers?
A lot of folks, you can go to our website and make a donation. A lot of our budget comes directly from customers directly. We also get some funding in terms of through the process. We can offset some of our costs through the process, and we get grants and other things. But the base of our funding has always been the residential ratepayers we represent.
Okay, and going from there and talking about the advocacy that you do have as far as analyzing this, and you mentioned a number of different utilities that you look through. It sounds like gas and power being the big ones, if I understand that correctly.
Yes.
And so this is taking a look at when, I would imagine, is it particularly private utilities? Do you look at public utilities as well?
No, it's really the investor-owned utilities that are
Okay.
For-profit. They're the ones that really have sort of a conflict of interest with their customers. They're trying to maximize shareholder returns, which, when they're a monopoly business, means they really need to be regulated.
And when you talk about taking a look at proposals that these companies put in for rate increases, what are the steps that you take to go through and analyze those cost requests and whether they're justified or not, in your opinion?
Yeah. Oftentimes we'll talk with the utility before they file them. They'll let us know what's coming and we'll talk with them. This PGE rate case is a good example. We had talked with them and about it. We knew it was coming. We had urged them to really keep it as tight as possible, keep it as narrow as possible. Don't ask for a bunch of policy things. Don't ask for higher profit margin. Don't ask for the things that you just had in your rate case that got decided a few weeks ago. Only focus on a handful of small new things. We were under the impression it was really being driven by some new projects with battery storage. And then we got the filing and started to look at it and realized battery storage was only $17 million of the $200 million. So it wasn't really the driving force. And they did have increased profits for shareholders, a new mechanism to make it easier to raise rates, and a bunch of things in there that we weren't expecting, or were things that were part of last year's rate case that were decided just weeks ago. And we shouldn't be relitigating these things every single year. We don't have time. They don't have time. And it's really not fair to customers.
And so you mentioned something that you talked to the private utilities and using PGE as an example here, particularly for this case, because we're going to get to the statement that you put out too. You actually speak to them before these proposals are put forward. Is that correct?
Oftentimes they'll let us know what's coming, try to get us, soften us up, if you might. The more we know about it, the easier it is for us to respond to customer questions. These filings are oftentimes hundreds of pages with thousands of pages of exhibits and work papers and documents that show sort of the math and stuff behind it. So it takes us a little bit of time to actually go through it. So a bit of a preview is always helpful. A lot of the utilities do give us that preview, but largely we don't take that in face value. Then you have to get the utility filing and go through it, start asking for data requests, start asking questions to the utility, which they're required to answer, and start really understanding what they're asking for and why, and do we really think it's in the interest of customers or not.
And for an example, and just, I guess, an overview for everybody, so this is something that the utility company, using PGE as an example, submits their proposal request to the Oregon Public Utility Commission, and then it's their job to go over that over a number of months and make a decision as far as whether or not they approve of those or not. And this is the standpoint where you come in and advocate on the behalf of the residential customers in your opinion of whether or not that should be approved.
Exactly.
And so when you come in there, and I guess you take a look at what it is the proposal is, and you then submit this, how does that process work as far as you submitting what you feel is justified or not?
Right. Ultimately, there's a series of steps through it. Typically, it comes through written testimony. So we have our own utility analysts, economists. We have attorneys on staff, and so we'll look at this. We'll do our own dig into it, and then we'll make recommendations to the commission. There's multiple rounds, but it's really done primarily through written testimony to the commission, making recommendations and trying to sort of dismantle or take apart their case to see what's really behind it.
And let's go into this just a little bit more about this proposal for the rate increase for 2025. From my notes, I believe it's 7.4% is what PGE is asking for, and this would go into effect in 2025. This is what they put forward. So in your opinion, the 7.4% rate increase that PGE has proposed for 2025, do you think it's justified or not?
No, we don't think it's justified. Again, customers' rates just went up in January. The 18% rate increase customers had in January, combined with the cold weather, really set customers back. There's thousands of customers that are still trying to pay their January bill, still haven't been able to pay that off. And adding another increase on top of that, we don't think makes a whole lot of sense. Customers have really. We've heard from a lot of customers since January, and what they're telling us is enough is enough. They can't afford this. They can't afford their utility bills going up significantly every single year. And why PGE can say, well, last year was 18%. This one's only 7%. It's 7% now. PGE has a number of mechanisms to add costs over the course of the year, to update costs over the year. Yes, last year at this time, we weren't looking at an 18% increase, but that's what we ended up with. So folks shouldn't feel like, 7% is a small number. I can probably afford that, because we really don't know what the final increase will be. We don't know what PGE will add to this over the course of the next 12 months.
And how successful have you been in the past as far as disputing or approving different rate increases when it comes to filing and submitting those statements through the Oregon Public Utility Commission?
We keep a running tab, and we've been around since '84, so we've been around for just about 40 years. The running tabulation we keep suggests that we've been able to knock about $9 billion, and that's billion with a B, off utility rates in that time. So I think we've been fairly successful. Unfortunately, rates still keep going up. We would love to see them come down more, and we'd love to really stop the rate hike that's on the table right now.
You mentioned the investment that PGE proposed, saying for batteries and to store power, and I don't know everything that they're doing for that, but I understand. From what I understand, PGE was advocating that some of this money would go towards batteries. And do you think that would be a justified expense to raise rates?
Again, I want to be In theory, it is. I mean, batteries are part of what we need to meet capacity. So I don't want to say they're not. But you have to look at individual projects. You have to ask a series of requests. We need to dig in them. Have they had cost overruns? If there were cost overruns, what were they caused by? You'd be surprised that utilities can screw up good investments. They can make mistakes. They can misplace things. They can not screw bolts on. They can. They're not. So there's can be probably there's things that you can find. So I hate to say anything is valid until we sort of open the hood, look underneath it, and see what's there, because we may find that there are real problems with these investments that they're bringing, that they don't make sense, that the company has mishandled them. But I'm not alleging that either. We've got to do the research and analysis and do the digging. So
fair enough. Yeah, totally understand that. And I think the one last thing too, or one of the last things I would like to know too is, for residents out there, for people who are looking at their power rate increase and maybe have disputes with that or want to find out more or get involved, how can they get involved with the Oregon Citizens Utility Board?
Right. We're a membership organization, so people can go to our website, oregoncub.org, and find out more about us, find out how to contact us, how to join with us. That's always helpful. People can call us. We're not a large organization. We don't necessarily have the resources to help every individual customer analyze their bill. We do that as much as we can. We can also refer people to the Consumer Complaint Division that the state has to mediate disputes between utilities and their customers, so that we know what's out there. So we can, sometimes when we can't help people, we can refer folks to places that can help them.
And I do have one final thing, and this just has to do with the press release that you put out yesterday. So from what I understand, this is the first time ever that the Oregon Citizens Utility Board has outright asked for a potential rate increase to be thrown out. Is that correct?
On the front end of that case, yes. I mean, we've opposed increases in the past after sort of doing the analysis and after sort of several months of analysis and things like this. But this is to the best of our knowledge the first time we've when one's been announced within weeks of that being announced, asked the commission to reject it and send the company back home.
All right. Well, Bob, anything else that you think is important for people to know, too? And I appreciate you joining us here just to educate everybody about the process, on everything, your opinions, your standpoints on this. I think it's really important for everybody to really be involved and understand it. What else is there anything else that you think is important for
I think it's
who are watching?
important. Yeah, no, I think it's important for folks to recognize that for-profit utilities are monopolies. A normal business can't just raise its rates when it wants to. It's constrained by the marketplace. It's competing against other folks, and the market really sort of sets the price for that product. And there's limited ability to go above that. So most businesses have to arrange their businesses around the prices that they sell. Utilities increasingly want to do the other. They want to arrange their prices around the business that they want to do. And so they're in here, that they're beginning to more and more look at utility regulation as a way to sort of go over the line items, what they're spending, improve them, and allow them recovery, rather than focusing on the customer and saying, what's affordable for the customer? What's the price that we need to hit to sell to make sure our customers are being protected and aren't being harmed? And then how do we organize our business so we can sell electricity at that price? So it really is the regulation is supposed to substitute for the market. And in the market, you really have to, you're a price taker. You have to organize your business for that. And we really need to have more of that attitude in here, identifying what is the price and expecting the utility to live with that price and organize and prioritize what it's doing in order to keep an affordable product out there for customers.
Would you recommend an alternative solution, or just really to examine this a little more and take a look at it in the perspective that you just mentioned?
I think we are going to be proposing in some of the rate cases. We've got a series of rate cases by different utilities this year. We're going to propose some new processes, some new ways for the commission to look at this, to hold them accountable, and that if prices go above a certain level, we believe that should impact the utilities' shareholders and earnings. At the same point, if you're going to harm customers and create too much pain, then that should be shared with shareholders at the same time. So we're going to be proposing some reforms to the system that we think will make it better and really help center it around the customer experience.
Well, Bob, thank you. Again, I mentioned it just before, but thank you even for this expanded knowledge that you just gave us right there. So really appreciate your standpoints on this. And for everybody who wants to find out more about the board, I know you mentioned it earlier, but can you just give everybody the website or the best way to access the information that you have and how to participate if they want to?
Yeah. It's www.oregoncub.org.
There it is.
OregonCUB.org. Very easy to find us.
Very great. Yeah, very easy. So, Bob, thank you very much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate you being here on Fox 12 Now and being a part of this conversation with us. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
All right, and for everybody watching too, again, this is Fox 12 Now, and we'll let Bob go on his way. We've got more here that we're going to be sharing as well. So, we are live here every weekday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific. I do have something else too, since this is, I do have PGE's statement actually that I've got here. So this is from earlier this week that they put out in regards to their price increase. In all fairness, so they said to achieve the day-to-day reliability that customers expect while simultaneously solving for the challenges of the future, Portland General Electric is deploying battery energy storage technology to modernize and strengthen the grid. We're focused on delivering reliable electricity to customers while keeping the cost as low as possible. So that was PGE's statement. I requested an interview with them, but they did give us a statement on that. If you'd like to watch the interview with the Oregon Public Utility Commission from earlier this week, I highly recommend doing that as well. And again, all of this exploration of utility rates and how this process works is all to educate myself and all of you who are watching. So I hope this is helping out. If you have recommendations, please send those in. We will be exploring other aspects of this coming up here in further episodes of Fox 12 Now. If you are watching live, I'm going to head over to the website and the apps. We got a couple more things over there before we have the Fox 12 Weather Podcast coming up at 2 p.m. So you are encouraged to join me over there. This is a little bit of a segment where we take a look at some other videos that are going on. So definitely download that app, Fox 12 Oregon app, and head on over there. I'll be there. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg W. This is Fox 12 Now.